Hey YouTube, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Best low speed modulation of all ready to run micro trucks out of the box. Is this true or clickbait? Well, it's a kind of true and a kind of clickbait too, because this is by far not the best crawling truck out of the box. So if you feel that's cheap clickbait, you can unsubscribe and give me thumbs down for this now. But here it is, the HG-18 Tiger Dog 1-18 full metal chassis. And I show you now that this truck really does have better low speed modulation than the out of the box best of the class, the SCX24 and the Mini C 4x4. So check this out. That's totally stock out of the box. So I did not upgrade it. As in my last videos, nearly all my trucks have been upgraded. We can do this later. I prepared an ESC for this. Low speed modulation is really nice, but approach angle is horrible. You can nearly do it as in my upgraded trucks. Stop on the edge, go back. Well, that's really okay, but the approach angle is horrible, and as you can see here now, it's a horrible crawler. It's not able to climb this step, however it would be able to climb quite steep inclines because the center of gravity is quite good. Tires are not super sticky. But this truck isn't new anymore. And it's not popular at all. It has been released about 1 year ago. I was also super interested in the Tiger Dog in the HG-18, but I didn't buy it because of its super high price. It was in the area of the Mini C 4x4 and the RC 4-wheel drive Gelände 2 1-18th trucks, but full metal chassis and drivetrain, ball bearings. This sounded very promising, and I simply waited for the first videos and reviews, and those have been published then by RC Tanks and Trucks 24/7 from Australia and by Tomley and Kevin Talbot from England, and none of the reviews was really good. Awesome build quality, yes, but poor crawling abilities and far too slow, no punch at all. And what I did not like at all, and was probably the reason for me not to buy this truck, were the wheels and the way the rims are mounted to the axles. Very unique, I will show it to you later. Very strange, and no upgrade rims with 7mm hex as we are used to in nearly all the other 1-18th and 1-24 micro trucks will fit. So those wheels and the super high price were the reason for me not to buy the HG-18 so far. And of course the HG-18 Tiger Dog is a shelf warmer. There's only one single review on Banggood website so far, and probably because of this Banggood lowered the price from $260 to still quite expensive $216 plus expensive shipping recently. And using some coupons I finally bought the HG-18 for $180 including shipment. That's about 140 to 150 euros, and that's still not cheap, but already more in the area of the super popular 1-18 trucks from Panda Hobby, Hobby Plus, Katana, Atlas, and all those do have plastic drivetrains and do not come with ball bearings. So I have ordered it, and now I do also have it. And here it is now, and I can confirm what all the other reviewers said, but I want to add some information, some more detailed information, because there wasn't really a super detailed review so far. It does come in a very strange packing, as you have already seen with this super nice box, where only the truck is nicely packed in. But radio and accessories come simply with this box, placed in a large brown box without any imprint, so rather strange. And the truck comes without any manual, what's rather strange too. But a good point, it uses those super popular small turbo racing radio, 3-channel radio, as the Hobby Plus, Rock Hobby, FMS and small RGT trucks, which will also bind to those cheap 4-channel receivers, so easy to upgrade and modify. I have shown you those receivers many times, I will show you one later. Yes, the bright blue Suzuki chimney style body looks awesome. The magnetic body mounting system is nice. However, the front comes off easily, so if you start with the front. But some of the stickers are super ugly. You get the sticker sheet and door handle stickers. They are larger than the door handles printed to the body, and they are ugly. I will probably remove them again and paint the handles if I should use this body later. And also only ugly stickers for windshield wipers and stuff like this. So that's a $260 truck, and stickers are as in a cheap toy truck. However, clear windows are quite nice, so it will be easy to make a simple interior and a driver figure. But since there came no manual with the truck, I, for example, didn't know if I have to simply press the mirror glass into the side mirrors or glue them. I finally glued them. They are super loose. This can easily be improved. However, for a $260 truck, also for the front grille mount with those strange caps and screws, a manual would really have been helpful. And finally, the picture on the box clearly shows front light lenses. And the car does not come with any lenses, not prepared for mounting LEDs. That's a pity and quite a bummer, because they show it on the pictures. All in all, that's for sure not an appropriate body for a $260 truck. And you get some accessories, for example, quite nice front shackles. But mounting of those front shackles would make the ground clearance of the truck and the approach angle even worse than it is already now, and it is really not good, as you have seen. Trailer hitch the same, but it's quite nice. But now let's come to the good sides. Electronics are as in all those 1 to 18th 2S trucks from Hobby Plus, Rock Hobby Katana and Atlas 6x6, a 2-in-1 unit. So like this one, that's from the Atlas, I guess. It does also come with a bind plug, as all those, but those bind plugs never work. I don't know why. And I didn't even try to bind with this bind plug anymore. When I bound the HG-18 to my P52, my turbo racing radio, I simply use the screwdriver as always. So this, if you have also problems, as I do I did this many times already, and those bind plugs never work. Simply switch on radio and receiver, and then take a screwdriver, put it in there where the bind plug should be placed, and wiggle around here with the driver a little bit. The receiver will go into bind mode and will bind. You will hear it on the servo. And this worked flawlessly for me now many times, while trying with bind plugs mostly doesn't work. Furthermore, it does come with a EMAX servo, the Emax ES08D2. Unfortunately, plastic gear, not metal gear. And the central gearbox here below sits below the tray for the LiPo battery. The battery probably is a LiPo. Let's switch it off. This is probably a LiPo. I added this LiPo here, but it doesn't come with any labeling. Could also be a lithium-ion battery. I'm not totally sure. No labeling, no C-rate. Banggood website says somewhere lithium-ion, but I charged this LiPo for testing with a USB charger coming with the truck, and it charged up to 4.2 volts per cell. So if it would have been a lithium-ion battery, it should only have charged up to 4.1 volts per cell. So I think and hope that's a LiPo. This battery is huge, but is it really 1500 milliamp hours 2S? Check out, for example, that's a 1000 milliamp hours 2S LiPo. And this one, okay, it's higher, 1500 milliamp hours. That's the famous 850 milliamp hours 2S LiPo without balance plug from RC 4-wheel drive. Should be nearly twice or 650 milliamp hours more. So don't really believe this. Comes with 18 gauge wires, really thick, much too large. However, I will probably not use this battery in this truck anyway. Some 2 or 3S LiPos of smaller size, 3S LiPos of course not with stock electronics, 500, 600 milliamp hours, they will fit perfectly. And talking about wires, check this out. Those are the motor wires. There is a 130 motor inside, a tiny motor like this one. And then huge wires and plugs. Those are 16 gauge wires, and they come normally in ESCs, in most ESCs for 1 to 10th trucks. Most ESCs do come with 16 gauge, sometimes 14, but mostly the cheaper ones with 16 gauge wires and those huge plugs. And yeah, those cheap plugs too, the first thing I normally remove or exchange in larger trucks. And then the wires by plugs going to the ESC, changing to 24 gauge. What's totally sufficient, of course, for a 130 motor. So those large wires and plugs are completely useless. Kind of odd and take only room and have a lot of weight. Of course, this has to be changed. And now I'll take off the battery mounting part to get a better sight to the gearbox. Does come with hex screws. Unfortunately, with those cheap screws, those super cheap ones, which are not magnetic, I don't know the material, so the cheapest screws you can buy, and that for a super expensive truck. And here you can see the central transmission now, which looks really awesome, but there's this super tiny 130 motor, and there seems to be a kind of gear reduction in front of this motor. And since the motor is so small and has the gear reduction, it doesn't have any punch probably. And as you can see here, there are the links. The HG-18 comes with this old style of 3 links, so that's a Y style as in the very old trucks. Upper links and nice lower links, it will not be possible easily or even impossible to mount a larger motor simply into this truck. However, the drivetrain is awesome. Everything made out of metal, drive shafts, super nice. So this really can compare to the RC 4-wheel drive 1 to 18th, at least. RC 4-wheel drive, maybe a little bit more scale, but probably not any better in this. This looks really awesome. Machined, probably. Check the axles. Check the diff covers. Super nice. All this. Skid plate, made out of metal too. Nice, but for sure not nice for crawling, unfortunately. Here, and those side steps, you have to mount them when you get the truck. They are nice, but they do not sit really firmly. But all this, that's where the money is probably. Bumpers are cheap plastic bumpers. The shocks are also made out of metal and seem to be quite nice and oil filled, but they are not good because, check this out, the springs are far too soft in my opinion. I didn't play around and test around with those, but you see they hardly are able to push everything up again. Now it seems to work. Now here. And the reason for this are the super soft springs. I will for sure change those springs. And tires are nice and soft with foams inside. And those are real beadlock wheels. Unfortunately, tires seem to be not very sticky, as you have seen now. And if there wouldn't be only this really dumb special mounting system. Let's take the tires off. Okay, and now I'm super angry. Wow. I can already say congratulations, HG, to the absolutely most dumb mounting systems of rims in RC history. Unbelievable. No problem with the rear rims or wheels. I did already do this before and tried it, but the front rims or wheels to get off, this was absolutely horrible. The system, that's a rear tire. You see here, that's not for a pin. This hole is for a screw. One long screw, and you have to place the tire and put the screw through the holes and screw it to the other side of the rim. In the rear tires this works quite fine, however it's quite hard to get to those screws. But in the front tires this was unbelievable. I did already hear and know that you will have to take the knuckles off for this, and as you can see here, I finally managed to do it. But how this works, nobody knows. And since there's no manual, this was really horrible. Normally you would think only 2 screws up and lower side, and those are those tiny 2 4mm socket cap screws, and they are placed of course on both sides here, but you cannot fully screw them out because they are blocked here by the rim. And I unscrewed the screws as far as possible and tried to pull them out, but it was absolutely impossible to get them out with small pliers or whatever, and I was not sure if there isn't somewhere a pin or a further grub screw or whatever. So what did I do here? I unmounted the beadlock wheel. So I took those 5 screws out when the rim was still mounted to the axles to get better access to those screws here. And then I checked it, even used a loop if there is some screw or whatever pin, because of course I tried with some force to pull the knuckles out or to pull the screws out, but it didn't work, and you wouldn't use too much force because you do not know if you will destroy something. So I really was super angry, and there was nothing more. So finally I used more force when I had access to those screws from above, because that's not the case if the rims are still mounted to the axle, or if both parts of the rim, the inner ring too, are mounted. And I pulled and twiggled and twiggled, and finally I got off those screws. I don't know why they set that firmly, so there was no thread anymore. Probably it was the thread lock they used. Again, probably it was the amount of thread lock they used. They used thread lock, and it was nearly impossible to pull those out, only with really a lot of force. And if you don't know if that's the way you should do it, and you have to do it, you will not pull with full force. And then in the second tire I did already know that it's only those 2 screws, and if those screws are on the top position, I could not pull the rim off the axle. So what did I do? I wiggled a little bit with this tool, so pushed the screws as far up as I could, because you cannot take them out because the inner ring is blocking the screw, and then could wiggle the upper part out, and then I did the same with the lower part. Absolutely horrible. I don't know why they do this, and it took me probably more than half of an hour. I searched and searched, and I'm really angry because of this now. So those screws they use there are 4mm M2 screws with socket head, and they are blocked by the upper ring. And I will, when reassembling those wheels now, I will use M2x4 button head screws, which should work much nicer. But wow, so really awful. Can't believe what they did here, and no manual, so you do not know how to do this. Here are the axles, dog pond style steering. So here are ball bearings, but on the wheel side, unfortunately, you can see this here. Those are no ball bearings, those are bushings. However, the quality of the rims is quite nice, and they are super easy to assemble and disassemble, much easier than the RC 4-wheel drive stamped steel rims we all know and do love. And best thing is, RC 4-wheel drive tires will fit, and those tires are quite small. So here I have the Bronco tires. Those are the Rock Crusher 1.0. They would fit perfectly, but I don't want to get them off, and I don't have any further of those small tires. I should probably buy Rock Creepers or Interco Super Swamper. Those are the smallest tires of RC 4-wheel drive 1.0s. I do have the large Wrangler. I do have on my D90 the dirt grabbers. The Wranglers are too large anyway. And I do already have on rims the Falcon Wild Peak. Don't want to take them off, so I will use, they are a little bit larger, either the Baja Claw, Mickey Thompson, or probably the Malstar Patagonia, a little bit larger, maybe a little bit rubbing, but I will mount those now. Let's take those. The Malstar Patagonia, I will mount those now to the 4 rims, and then we will see if simply changing the tires will already improve the driving performance. They do seem quite sticky, the tires coming with the HG-18. As you can see, they do have foam in here, but yeah, let's test it out. A little bit larger, probably a little bit rubbing, and I will show you one tire how easy this is. Five 1.6 millimeter screws, as in the RC 4-wheel drive, stamped steel, beadlock rims, but a little bit longer, 1 or 2 millimeter longer. So, as you saw, super easy to mount, much easier than the RC 4-wheel drive stamped steel. And now I will mount Malstar Patagonia to all 4 rims and mount those to the chassis, and then we will see if those tires will improve already the climbing behavior, and then we will test a better ESC. So here it is now, the HG-18 with RC 4-wheel drive, 4 Malstar Patagonia tires on the HG-18 rims. Mounting of the tires no problem, as you have seen. Mounting of the wheels and the rims was easy too. In the rear wheels it's only 1 screw, but in the front it was a kind of mess. As I told you, I did not use the socket head screws anymore, but button head screws, so it was much easier here. Not really difficult, but for taking off the wheels you also have to take off the steering link, and there's a tiny shimmer kind of copper distance part in here over the screw, and on this side I even didn't see that I lost it on the left side. On the right side it cannot be lost that easy, and after mounting this I found there is something missing. Found it on the ground, already destroyed by my chair. Yeah, and a little bit of a mess. Do have 2 millimeter aluminium tubes, but they were too large. Checked my micro heli stuff, didn't find anything. Finally I could manage it with a little bit of shrink tube. However, what a mess, only taking the front tires off. By the way, steering angle is not that bad in my opinion. It's not the best, but quite okay. Even seems to have a little bit of Ackermann. And now let's check. Still stock electronics. After this I will put one of my good ESCs into the car. But now let's check if only changing the tires will improve the climbing performance. Those are the stock tires. They look really nice, honestly, and they seem to be sticky, but who knows. Let's see if it can climb now. But first, what I forgot, taking off this ball end screw. It has a 3 millimeter hex, tiny, and this 3 millimeter Vera hex driver came in super handy, because it could take the ball and then reach to the hex nut, while other 3mm drivers ahead were not able to do this. So wow, that's super difficult work, all this only for taking off the wheels. So the larger tires seem to have no problem. And now let's check stock electronics. RC 4-wheel drive, Milestar Patagonia tires. Can it climb this step now? Was not able before. Okay. With the RC 4-wheel drive tires, it's able to climb this step. With the stock tires, it was not. Okay, nice. Even if those tires look nice, RC 4-wheel drives are better. And now let's take one of those Modellbauregler.de ESCs. I will also change the receiver and test this on 2S and also on 3S, because one of the main problems of this car, it's too slow. There is some rubbing of the tires somewhere. That's maximum speed. So, took the stock electronics out and mounted a small turbo racing receiver and an AS12-6RW ESC from Modellbauregler.de and use a small 2S LiPo. Now I don't want this super large LiPo, and let's see how it does now. That's slow, isn't it? Still not too fast. Super silent. And of course, I can stop on the edge now. This body is a bit of a pain too, because the front magnet comes off. No, it's on now. Now we have some tire rubbing here. So the tires are a little bit too large. Well, the body should sit more in front, but it's held by the rear bumper. Come on. Okay, you hear the tires rubbing now. And you hear the trailer hitch rubbing. What's up with this body? Two magnets on each side would have been a better solution, in my opinion. However, the HG-18 does have exactly the same wheelbase as the Bronco from RC 4-wheel drive, and I'm thinking of using this Bronco body for it. I intended to use this in my HG-1802, but the wheelbase is slightly off in this, and maybe I will use, the bumpers do not fit, but I do have bumpers. Maybe I will use this Bronco body in the HG-1802 now. But it's still too slow. So let's take a 3S LiPo and check how it works. With a 3S LiPo, here I have a small, what is it, 370, tiny 3S LiPo. Didn't use sticky tape to mount receiver and ESC. Probably should do this. And now on a 3S LiPo, super slow again. But what's the top speed? Still not super fast, but already quite a bit faster, so probably a 3S LiPo and a different ESC is the way to go with this truck for me. Okay, you see, now it does have enough punch to climb it. And we should also test this with the body on, but then now the body seems to sit fine. There's a, oh, get the antenna, oh, forget it. Let's try it with a little bit of tire rubbing. Let's try it with body, but this body does not have a lot of weight. So shouldn't make a big difference. Well, seems to make a difference. No, a little bit, but it's still able to climb on 3S with the RC 4-wheel drive Milestar Patagonia tires. Tires are a little bit too large. If I would use this body, stock tires are significantly lower performance than the RC 4-wheel drive tires, even if they look good and sticky. The Rock Crusher 1.0, they would fit of the Bronco, and maybe I should buy the Rock Creeper, which have the same size, are as small as those Rock Crushers. But probably I should use a different body. I don't like this. Anyway, the RC 4-wheel drive Bronco body is a good candidate. Unfortunately, I did buy only one. They were on a sale super cheap, but I didn't know what I will do with two of those. So my HG-1802 will get a different body. 3S, different ESC, that's the way to go. And that's the end of this video. Will I recommend the HG-18? For sure not, guys. You saw this video, and the reason why I mainly do not recommend it is wheels. How stupid is this? If the truck would have normal 7mm hex and rims fitting to 7mm hex for this price, if you are one of those guys considering to buy a CR18, a Panda Hobby, Why not for the same price, so a little bit more, this truck with full metal chassis and really nice chassis and drivetrain. But of course, if you want a crawler, you won't buy this. If you want to buy a small scale truck, you probably could buy it, but with those wheels, you can paint them to get them off. Pain in the ass. Wow. Don't know. Do what you think. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video. I'll be